Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 15 to the public. It's available at the same time everywhere around the world, and you can install it right now. And it's supported on all of the same devices that support iOS 14. So if you have an iPhone SE, the first generation, iPhone 6S, 6S Plus, or newer, you'll be able to get it now. Now along with this, Apple also released iPadOS 15, watchOS 8, and tvOS 15 as well. macOS will be coming a little bit later. Now, if you're not seeing the update, you can go to your settings, go down to General, and then tap on Software Update, and you should see it there. If you're still not seeing it, turn off automatic updates and check again, and you should see it. Now, there's a lot of changes and updates in this overall update, maybe 300 to 400 significant changes. Some are more important, some are less important, but let's go ahead and take a look at what's new right now. Now, the first new feature is the first time you update to iOS 15, you'll be greeted with this nice hello screen. You'll see it's drawing the word hello, and it's changing languages as it does that. We've seen this with the iMac when Apple introduced the newer iMac. So it's just redrawing hello. It's a nice little addition. Now, on the home screen of iOS 15, it looks pretty much the same. However, there's some new options here. If we press and hold and go into jiggle mode, and then we tap on the Pages dots at the bottom, we have all of our pages, just like we did with iOS 14. However, we can now rearrange these however we'd like. So if we tap and hold or press and hold, you can rearrange them wherever you'd like. Now, the other thing you can do with the apps is you can add multiple apps of the same type to different home pages. This is useful later when you want to adjust a focus mode. I'll talk about that in a little bit. That's a new feature, but you can see you can add the exact same icon for an app multiple times on different pages. So maybe you want it on this page and then you want to change it another day. You can do that. And I'll show you that a little bit later, but that's the first thing you can do with this. Now, the home screen also gets the feature that iPad has had for a little while, and that is drag and drop across more apps. You can pick up images, documents, and files from one app and drag them into another. So if we go into Photos and I press and hold on an image, maybe I'll grab this one, grab two different images here, go home. I can drag those into another app if I want, or just let go altogether. You can do that with documents and more. So that's something that's new. Now, you may have already noticed that I have the weather widget. Now, there's a weather app as well that you can use, and you'll see that in your app library that automatically sort of sorts all of your apps. But you have the weather app, but I also have the weather widget here on the home screen. And with widgets, there's a bunch of new ones in iOS 15. So if I scroll over here, you'll see that I have a bunch of different ones. The first one is a contact widget. The next one is a Find My widget. It's just the same person. Then we have an App Store widget. We have a Game Center widget. We also have a Mail widget. You'll see I have no messages. And then also we have a Sleep widget. So all of those are new widgets. And also in the Screen Time widget, you'll now have your icon of who it's tracking in the upper left. So that's my personal icon, and you can see it there. So they've updated a bunch of different widgets and added a bunch more. So those are new as well. Now, also, if we go to the home screen, you'll see that I have this widget. If I press and hold on the widget, we can edit the widget stack since there's multiple widgets within this. We could do this before, but they've changed it a little bit. We now have Smart Rotate and widget suggestions on and off, so you can have it suggest widgets throughout the day. And you can also reorder these now as well. So if I want to reorder them, I can reorder them just like that. Just press and hold, move it around, and you can reorder the widgets however you'd like. And you'll see sometimes, depending on where you're at, it's a little bit sensitive, but you can reorder them. Now, the weather app has an all-new design. This is one of my favorite apps in iOS 15, and it seems a little silly just to call weather your favorite, but you can see it's raining now, and it's animated that it's raining. Now, this feature will be available on most phones, but older phones may not see all of these animations. But not only has the app completely been redesigned, you'll see that it's giving the current weather conditions. If I go to the next couple of towns here, the weather will change depending on where you're at. So now it's changed to sort of a cloudy day. If I go to another city, you'll see that it changes to night because it's night in, well, Dubai here in this case. So it changes dynamically based on where you're at. Also, if you scroll down, you have precipitation. If you tap on the map, if you tap in the upper right, this icon here, tap on it, you now have temperature, precipitation, and air quality. Now, this is somewhat dependent on where you live, but you'll see there's the overall air quality, and it gives the general idea of what it looks like. So you have all of those new options, and if we tap on Done and go down, you'll see there's even more. There's UV index and sunset and wind and rainfall and what it feels like and humidity. It's completely been updated, and it's probably one of the better weather apps now on iOS. Now, if we go into settings, settings has been redone as well. In settings, you'll see that everything is now into sort of rounded rectangles. So instead of being edge to edge like it was before, we now have rounded rectangles everywhere. And so they've just sort of separated it a little bit differently. Also, some of the settings have changed if maybe you have a beta profile. Under General, if you scroll down, we now have VPN and device management. Your profiles will be found there if you have a beta profile. And also, you'll see if we go back and we go down to transfer and reset, the options have changed. So maybe you're trying to get ready for a new iPhone. You have some new options here where it says prepare for a new iPhone. It says make sure everything's ready to transfer to a new iPhone, even if you don't currently have enough iCloud storage to back up. Apple will loan you iCloud storage in order to back up. So you can do that, tap on Get Ready, and it will take a few minutes and then walk you through setting this up to get ready for your next iPhone. They'll loan it for a couple weeks to get ready for that iPhone. So once you pick it up, you can trade it in and get rid of your old one and just have all of your data transferred very easily. So it's something that they've completely updated in this version, and it's really nice that they've added it. So you can just make sure you have a backup. It does everything for you, and then you'll have everything in iCloud when you want to transfer. Now, if you have AirPods, there's some updates as well. Now, you may need some new AirPod firmware for some of these to work, but I thought I'd share them either way. The first thing is if you have AirPods Pro or AirPods that support head tracking, you'll now have the option for head tracking in iOS 15. So if you go into your settings and you go to accessibility, under accessibility, go down to AirPods, tap on your current AirPods that support it, you'll see that it says spatial audio head tracking. Off, video content, or audio and video content. And if you haven't experienced this, you have your AirPods in your ear and your screen is in front of you. If you turn your head to the left, you'll hear it from the right, as though it's coming directly from your device. This is a really nice feature that's available in iOS 15, and you'll need AirPods Pro or AirPods Max or other devices that have motion sensors in them to support this feature. Now, there's another feature that Apple showed off when they initially announced iOS 15 that, again, may require an update to your AirPods when that's available. And if we go into our control center and you have hearing turned on, the little hearing icon, tap on it and you have some different options. So once I put an AirPod in my ear, some new options will show up. Now, once your AirPods are connected, if you have AirPods Pro, you have an option called Conversation Boost. Again, you may need a firmware update, but you'll see here, in my settings, if I scroll down, I have Conversation Boost. And this will help me hear people when they're nearby if I need a little extra volume in my ear. Maybe I'm a little hard of hearing. This will give us the option to do that. And then you have the option to reduce ambient noise if you need to. And it really helps out if you need that feature. So you have that available in iOS 15. Again, you may need an AirPods firmware update for that to work. Now, within iOS 15 is a new feature called focus modes. Now, I covered this extensively in a separate video and went through every setting, but just like we had Do Not Disturb in iOS 14, if we tap on this, we now have a bunch of different focus modes. You can customize them yourself, or you can use whatever's here by default. You can add a new one as well. So just like we had a Do Not Disturb and a driving mode before, we can now set it up for work or sleep or whatever we'd like. And as we switch between focus modes, it can actually change our home screen. So right now it's on Do Not Disturb. If I go to my home screen, you'll see I have 3 pages indicated by the dots at the bottom of the home screen. If I go into a focus mode, maybe I'll switch it to work. What this does is changes how notifications come through. It also changed my home screen to add more pages than I had before. So I have more pages. If I go back into Do Not Disturb, you'll see it will change right back. Now, these focus modes can be adjusted to change based on location and time of day. And you can see those in settings, or you can get to them through your control center. But there is a focus section within settings. If we tap on that, you'll see that we have the same focus modes. So under these focus modes, if we go to Home Evening, you'll see that I have a bunch of different people that are allowed to contact me during this time. I also have apps that will give me notifications during that time, and it has a smart activation turned on that knows to turn on when I get home. It says home while at this location, turn on. It automatically switches to that mode. And when I leave and go to work, it switches to work. I have it turned on based on location. Of course, I can change this to do many more things. I can turn it on right here. I can also add an animation or an automation that happens when I arrive home, such as maybe turn the lights on as well. You can integrate this across the system with your home app as well. So it's very nice, and you can change your home and lock screen along with it. So any of these focus modes can be changed, and it can share across your devices. So if I go home and I turn on a focus mode, maybe I switch to work again, you'll see on the other devices here, it will switch to work. There's a little icon at the top that says work. If I switch back to do not disturb, it will take a moment and switch back to do not disturb. You can carry that across all devices, and you can even have it give notifications to others when we're actually in a focus mode. You can tell people that you're within that focus mode and notify them as well. So this is a very nice feature if you like do not disturb and want it to change automatically. I find that I use it all of the time to focus on tasks at hand. So I only want certain notifications when I'm at work. When I'm home, I want to turn off notifications that maybe might not be relevant or would interrupt time with family. You can do that and completely customize it. It will even walk you through how to do that. So if you want to add a new one, it will say, what do you want to focus on? And you could pick reading, and it gives you a few different ones to choose from. So you have those options here. So that's new in this update. Now, one thing that they've changed in iOS 15 as well is notifications. If we go to notifications, it will also give us notifications in a section during focus modes. It'll let us know ones that we've missed, and they've also grouped them differently. So as I scroll down, you'll see they're a little different. They've been grouped before, but they look a little bit different. And if we slide over, we can clear them or slide again and go to options. So we have the option to mute it, mute for today, deliver immediately, configure or view settings, or turn off those notifications altogether. So they've again made more customization with the notifications. There's also what's called a notification summary now. And notification summary will give you a summary of notifications that aren't as important to you during the day. So if you go into your settings and we go to notifications, you'll see that at the top it says scheduled summary. If I go into scheduled summary, I have multiple summaries set up throughout the day so that I get notification summaries based on apps that I don't want to hear from during certain focus modes or throughout the day. It will summarize them and just let me know all of the ones that I may have missed that are important but I didn't need right away. So you can go through and pick those on a per app basis. So that's something that's a little bit different. You can sort them A to Z or alphabetically and turn them on or off as you want or what's important to you. So it's really nice to have that. You also have Siri suggestions for those, and they can announce notifications. So all of those things are super helpful. And again, if we go into maybe the App Store, we have the option to tell it to give us the notification immediately or in a scheduled summary. So we can have it customized completely based on what matters to us. Now, if we go home and we go into our clock, they've updated this a little bit from iOS 14. There was something that I found quite annoying is if we went into, say, an alarm, now we can just tap on the alarm. We no longer have to tap on edit and then go into the alarm. So now we can tap on the alarm, and you may have already noticed that they've updated the way you select the time by using the scroll wheel again. This was something in iOS 13, they changed in iOS 14, and now they've brought back in iOS 15. So if you want to change the time, you can just scroll now, where before you had to go in and just type it, or you had tiny little scroll wheels. So they've been updated as well, and it just makes it a little bit easier. Now in iOS 15, Apple continues to add accessibility features, and some of these are really nice. So if we go into settings, go to accessibility, scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see per app settings. Under per app settings, we can adjust settings on an app by app basis. So you'll see I have the Apple Store here. And if I go into that, we have the option for bold text and larger text and button shapes or labels, reduce transparency, increase contrast, differentiate without color, smart invert, reduce motion, and autoplay video previews. This is on an app by app basis. If we go into Safari, you'll see similar things. So we can change that in every single app. Also, they've added the ability to change these on an app-by-app basis by going into the app. So I'm in Safari, and if we go into the Control Center, I've added the option to change this in the Control Center. You'll see these two A's here. If I press on this, I have the option to change the text size in the apps altogether or just Safari. So if I want to increase the text size to 190%, you'll see I'll go back and everything is larger. If I go into another app in the App Store, everything is the same size. Again, if I go into the Control Center, press and hold, or we can just tap on it, it's the same thing. We can change the App Store only to a larger size. So if we go back out, everything is increased in size. Or we can go back in and just bring it back. And again, go to 100% or all apps. We can control all apps or just individually. So that's something they've updated. They've also added background sounds. This is something that's really nice if you're trying to study. So within your accessibility settings under audio visual, you'll see background sounds. So you have the option to turn them on, and you have different sounds for balanced noise. You have bright noise, dark noise, ocean, rain, and stream. So those are all new. You can play those in the background if you'd like. And you can also say when media is playing and change the volume. You can change it just to have it playing all the time or stop it when it's locked. So you have all of those options for accessibility. Now, sound recognition has some updates as well. A year ago or so, Apple added the option for sound recognition to notify you if it hears a specific sound. And so you have things such as fire alarms or siren or smoke. It will let you know that it's hearing a sound or that it thinks it hears a sound. And this year they've added the option for glass break and kettle. So these are two new sounds that have been added. So just a couple updates there. Now in VoiceOver, they've added some pretty significant updates as well. So if you use VoiceOver in accessibility and you're using that option to understand what's on your display, it will now go into more detail as far as objects, people, or text on the display. So maybe you're in a photo, it will give more context about that photo. So if you have VoiceOver turned on, if you turn on VoiceOver, it will understand what's on the screen. So it tells you how to use this, and you can go home here, and it will explain what's on the screen, but will explain more about photos. So if we go into photos, so within the photo, it will understand that there's actually a phone and everything that's around it. So it's quite good at understanding that. It's hard to show because it doesn't understand everything yet, and it understands faces as well. So we'll turn that off for now, but it will understand more about what you're actually looking at to help those that need that. Now, also with accessibility, Apple has kept the magnifier app on the phone by default. It now comes with iOS 15. There's no need to go and install it from elsewhere. So that's something that they've added as well. Also within accessibility, if we go to touch, go to assistive touch, and in the options where we have devices, we can now use a game controller as well. So if we want to use a game controller for assistive touch, we can do that. They've also added new languages for voice control, such as Chinese, Cantonese, French, and German. All of those things have been added to accessibility. Now in iOS 15, Apple has brought a new feature called live text. This is something I find extremely helpful. Now you will need an A12 Bionic CPU or newer, so that means basically the last few generations of iPhone. If you have an iPhone 10 or older, it will not support it. But if we go into the camera can now recognize text within whatever it's looking at. So you'll see here, if I bring this iPhone box behind it, it puts little brackets around the word iPhone. In the upper right of the image here, there's a little icon that appears, and if I tap on the icon, it recognizes the text and lets us copy this text or manipulate it. So you'll see it says copy, select, look up, and we can have some other options as well. This also works within photos. So if I go into a photo, maybe we go into weather and we tap on the weather photo, press and hold, it recognizes text within that photo. So you can copy and paste that. So maybe you took a photo of a tracking number, you want to copy it, you can do that. Or you can even translate it, look it up, or share that text. So you have that option in this update. You can do this from other places as well, such as Safari. So if you want to paste text from an image within Safari, we'll go to Safari. And within Safari, if we press and hold on the address bar here, it says scan text. If we tap on scan text, you'll see that we can now insert that same text using live photos. So it's grabbing text from whatever it sees. It's actually seeing the percentage of the battery on the iPhone 6s Plus behind it, and it's trying to insert that text there. So it's a nice little feature they've updated that can be used throughout the OS. Now the next thing has to do with visual lookup, which again pertains to photos. Visual lookup uses machine learning to understand what's in the photo. So if we go to the World Trade Center here, you'll see in the bottom, there's a little eye and there's a little star on that eye. If I tap on it, it recognizes what it is. It recognizes where it is. And if you tap on landmark, or you can tap this icon here, it will look up what's in the photo and tell you what it is. So it's saying One World Trade Center. It's giving the address, giving similar photos that match it as well. And then again, it gives you more information as well about that image. So we've got better metadata within photos as well. Now this works on multiple things such as animals, landmarks, and flowers, and they'll be adding things throughout. But you'll see again with the flower, if I tap on the eye, it recognizes that it's a plant, and you could tap on the icon here as well, and it's giving a similar plant. So it's telling us what it is and finding similar images to it. So it's a really nice update and very helpful. Unfortunately, it's not available for older devices. So again, A12 Bionic CPUs and newer. Now in the camera, they've updated a few more things as well. And on the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro series phones, they've improved panoramic mode to improve geometric distortion and better capture moving subjects while you're sort of moving and capturing that panorama altogether. So that has been updated as well. They've also updated the quick take video setting. So when you swipe up or swipe down when you're taking a quick take video, so maybe you're in a photo and you swipe up with your finger, you can zoom in and out while you're taking quick take. So you have that option now as well. It's super easy, or you can use the little zoom icons here as well. That's been updated. Also in the camera, you can turn off night mode permanently now. So something you may not like, if you just want a natural photo without that night mode included, you can turn that off. So if I turn off the light here, you'll see it switches to night mode in the upper left or the bottom left, and you'll see we have the option for our night mode. If we slide all the way over, it stays off, and it will stay permanently off if you want it to. So it'll put a little line through night mode and you'll no longer have that option. So they've updated that as well. Now, along with the camera, they've also updated photos. So we have visual lookup, live text, but in photos, they've updated memories. So you'll see under For You, there's memories here, and this is a memory it created on its own. If I tap on the memory, you'll see it brings it full screen. Tap on it again, and we have some options. So in the bottom left, we now have the option to add music. So if we tap on the little music icon, it will suggest music for us. We can swipe through, add different music, and we can also change the visual look and feel of it overall with this little icon here. Tap on this, and we have different looks for our memories. We can change the contrast, we can change the fade, and all of these features are available in iOS 15. Now, if we go back, we'll just tap on it here. In the upper right, we have some options as well. So if we tap on it, we can manage the photos within, make a key photo, or hide from the memory. If we want to hide individuals from the memory, we can do that. So those are available here as well. So we'll tap on this, and then we have this option in the bottom right to show all of the photos and video within the memories. So we have all of those options in Photos. Now, if we go back, we'll get out of the memory here, and maybe we'll go into a live photo. So let me take a live photo. We'll go to the camera, make sure live photo is active. So it's active with this little icon here. So we'll hit the button, take a photo, it says live. And if we go into that photo, you'll see in the upper left, we have options. Now, we've had some of these options before, but it's easily accessible now with the little down arrow where we can make it loop, bounce, or have a long exposure. So if we want to turn it into a long exposure, it can do that and sort of blur the photo. Again, you can have it bounce. That's helpful for some social media things. Goes back and forth, or you can have it loop. So those have been added in a more convenient spot in iOS 15. And again, if we hit the eye here, it gives us more information about the overall photo. We can add a location. It even gives us what camera it was taken with, how many megapixels, its actual resolution, and more. So all of the metadata has been improved. Now, FaceTime gets some big updates as well. Now, FaceTime looks a little bit different now, and you can see at the top we have an option for Create Link or New FaceTime. And Create Link now allows us to share a FaceTime call either through here or through the calendar with someone that's on Windows or Android. They can access this via a web link and actually join into a FaceTime call. So they've updated that. And within a FaceTime call, the menu has changed a little bit. Now, originally you were able to actually share your screen and also have share play as well, but these features will be coming later on. And so this has been updated a little bit with different options. you can see this is myself in the bottom here, and we have an option for portrait mode where it will blur the background. So it's blurring the background in real time, and that's all blurred out. And we can turn that off if we'd like. And we also have some filter options and things like we did before. Now, if we go back out, we have zoom options if we're using the rear camera. So if we want to show something to someone, we can zoom in up to 6x on the 12 Pro Max. So that's an option within FaceTime. So again, if we go in here, you'll see the different options for audio, but we have some new audio options as well. If we scroll down or swipe down in our control center, you'll see we have video effects, portrait, and we also have mic modes. So if we tap on this, we have standard, voice isolation, and wide spectrum. It will actually use these mic modes to better help people hear us if we need to isolate our voice, or give them a wide hearing of the room, or wide listening to the room, or just back to standard like it was before. So you have all of those options built in through the control center. Also, if you're on a call and you're actually muted, so maybe I'm muted here, I have my mic muted, let's tap on the call, and my microphone is off, and I start to talk, it will actually know that I'm talking and let me know that I'm muted. So let's try that. So my microphone is muted, and you'll see it says microphone muted, tap to unmute. So it will let us know with a little chime and let us know that we're muted. You also have a new grid view built into this as well. So all of those things have been updated. Again, SharePlay will be brought to FaceTime a little bit later, so you'll be able to do that. But again, you have all of those new features in FaceTime, which are super helpful. Now, Apple has long had a way to remember passcodes and suggest passcodes. However, they've added two-factor authentication authenticators built right in. So if you go into your settings and then you go down to passwords, now once you go into a password, and you'll see I created this just for this demonstration, you'll see it says setup verification code. So tap on verification code, and it says enter setup key or scan QR code. So you can use two-factor authentication with this and set up a verification code for this. So if we enter a setup key, you'll see that it's asking for that, and then it will create that two-factor authentication for you. So they've added that in iOS 15. Now there's some changes in messages as well. So if we go into messages, now within messages at the bottom, you can see there's a notification that says Aaron has notifications silenced, and then I can notify anyway. This is letting this person know that I actually have a focus mode turned on and that they can notify me if they need to, but I'm in a focus mode and I'll get the message later. So it gives the person texting the individual that option. Also, you can see that photos that were sent to me are a little bit different as well. These are photos I took of different things for a phone comparison, and I can swipe through them in sort of a nice collage version as well now. I can also see them as a grid, and it shows me all the different photos. So that's something they've updated in messages. Now, if I go into a different message, you can see here there's a new icon to the right of some of those photos. So if someone sends less photos than say 9, it will sort of spread them out, but it's still sort of a collage. We have a new quick download button to the right of them. So if I tap on it, it switches to a check and then downloads those photos to my device. So that's been updated in messages as well. Now, if someone shares an article with me, that will show up throughout the OS now as well. So maybe someone shares something like news or maybe a photo or a website. I'll actually see those in the corresponding apps. And I can show you that in a moment, but it will show you in the corresponding app that it's actually been shared to you by someone. So maybe Zach shared something with me. It will show me in Safari that they've shared a specific link. It ties into that other app all by itself. Now in Brazil, you also have SMS filtering available. So if we go back, similar to how we have already with filtering all messages, known senders and unknown senders, we now have the option in Brazil as well for that. There's also notification options for India and China for unknown sender transactions and promotions in here as well. Now there's also additional Memoji that they've added. So if we go into the messages again and we go into our Memoji, and maybe we go to our options here, we'll edit the Memoji. They've updated this with quite a few things. So there's new clothing, there's glasses, headwear, eye colors, accessibility options with cochlear implants, oxygen tubes, and a soft helmet. So you can change all of these different things. So you'll see all of the different options here, headwear, clothing. If we go back here, we can have different options for them as well. And if we scroll down, you'll see there's an oxygen tube. So we have different options for all sorts of things that they've added within messages for Memoji, and to put on your Memoji stickers as well. So all of those have been updated in iOS 15. Now, if we cancel this and we'll discard changes for now, we'll go back. And if we tap on the keyboard, we now have some new options here. So we have better device dictation, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Now, if I say, hi, how are you today? And maybe we'll just move that down a moment and say hello. Now, if I want to select something here, I can press and hold like I could before, but now the loop is back where it magnifies and you can see exactly what you're looking at. So as I drag my finger, it's actually magnifying it like we had in previous versions of iOS. With iOS 14, it's just a line. So they've brought that back. It's super helpful and makes it much easier to select text. Also, things they've updated again were device dictation and also continuous dictation. Previously, it was limited to 60 seconds, but now I can speak for well over 60 seconds and it will just continue to type what I'm speaking in real time until I stop it. So you'll either hit the limit of messages, or if you're in voice dictation, you can just keep speaking as you need to and then stop it when you're done. It was previously limited to 60 seconds. Also, quick path keyboard. So that's where you're swiping or sort of moving your finger around again to say, hi, how are you? That has been updated in more countries. So Dutch, Hindi, Russian, Swedish, Turkish, and Vietnamese. There's also additional updates for new keyboard layouts, and there's also enhanced 10-key layouts for Chinese. So a bunch of different updates to the keyboard depending on your country, but the main thing is they've updated the loop so that it works a little bit easier to select text, and on-device dictation has been added as well. Now, Maps gets some big updates as well. Not only is the icon new, if you didn't notice that already, but they've added quite a few things. So we'll go into Maps. Now, within Maps, if we zoom out, you'll see we have a globe. This is added on some devices. Again, many of these features are available on A12 Bionic and newer, as they're handled a lot by the neural engine. But they've updated this with a globe, but they've also updated cities with a lot more detail. San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, and London are some of the first, and they'll continue to update them around the world. But as I zoom in, you'll see a bunch of detail. It will even show the trees in different parks. So as I zoom in here even further, you'll see that it populates the trees, and you can see that on a golf course here. And there's different landmarks that have been updated. You can see here, if we tap on the Golden Gate Bridge, it gives us more information about it and gives us visual versions of this as well. So you can see this. This was added before, but again, it's just giving us even more detail to the map overall. You can even see underneath it if you want. So you can spin it around, see underneath a little bit there, and it's just given us a lot more detail. Now, they've also updated this with navigation as well. So if we navigate, let's say from San Francisco to Apple Park, as we zoom in with our directions, you'll see construction and different landmarks and a lot of different things such as lane markings and more. So it's really been updated as you're navigating. So it shows you much more information. Taxi lanes, medians, crosswalks, and even where stoplights are. So if we zoom in here, we'll see if we can find a stoplight as we get closer to Apple Park here. We'll go all the way to Apple Park, and let's see if we can find a stoplight here. You can see an overpass there, and as we zoom in, you can see all the different lanes you can turn in, and if there is a stoplight, you can see that as well. Now you'll see if I navigate to a local Apple store, we're seeing the different stoplights and where they are. And I also have the option to report an incident, share an ETA, or add a stop. If I report an incident, I can report a crash, hazard, or speed check. And we'll end this now. And when I search for an individual place, you'll see that it gives me better information about it. There's more information here, and I can even add photos if I'd like to, and rate the place. So we can add photos of the local area, rate how good it is, and you'll see all the additional details here. You have curated guides based on the place you're at. So if we type in maybe Charleston, you'll see that it gives us guides about it. You'll see there's a guide here, and we can add that, create a new guide with more information, or there's self-curated guides as well with the best hotels in downtown Charleston. So they've really updated this a lot, and they're making a big push to make this better. There's also updated transit directions in cities such as New York City. So now we're in New York City. If we tap the icon in the upper right for driving, we can switch to transit. Under transit, we have all sorts of different transit, of course. It shows all the different routes. And based on different locations, we can see more information. So we can see the nearest station and view that as far as that route goes. And then also it sees landmarks. But if we want to go to maybe Penn Station here, wait for it to load, and it will show departures and show what time they depart and more. So there's a lot more information about transit modes all over the world. It depends on the city you live in. The other thing that's really impressive that they added is walking directions with augmented reality. Now you have to be in a city that supports this, but you can hold your phone up and it will show you directions using your phone and the camera. That's something they've updated as well. But again, it has to be in a supported city. We'll also cancel this, and we also have access to a user account now with our own preferences. So if we go into our user account, you can see that there's favorites, guides, reports, and more. So all of that has been updated in iOS 15 and even more. So there's a lot of information in Maps, and they're making a big push to make this much, much better. In iOS 15, Safari gets a major redesign. If we go into Safari, you may have already noticed when I showed live text that the address bar is at the bottom. Now, Apple has given us the option to customize this if this is something we don't really like. So if we tap on the small and larger A here, this is a menu, tap on it, we now have the option to show top address bar. Tap on that, and it goes back to basically what it looked like in iOS 14. Again, tap it, and then show bottom tab bar, and it looks a little different. You can also change this within your Safari settings. You'll see here it says Tabs, Tab Bar, and Single Tab. That's under Settings and then Safari. You also have the option for extensions in Safari now. You can browse those in the App Store and add extensions, such as ad blockers and much more into extensions on Safari. So that's something they've added as well. Within Safari also, we have additional options. So if we press and hold on the address bar, you'll see that it says copy or voice search. We can now use our voice to search directly in Safari. So if we close the tabs, tap this little button in the bottom right, close our tabs out here. We have no tabs. Tap the little microphone, apple.com. It switched, it brought us to our search, but I can say apple.com itself. Apple.com. And it will bring us to that website. So it makes it a little easier to search if you want to use your voice to do that. Now again, you may have noticed already, if I close my tabs here, we have a different start page. And this can be fully customized similar to what we have on Mac already. So we have our favorites, we have a privacy report, frequently visited, Siri suggestions, and also from my other devices. So we have some tabs open there. Again, you can customize this by tapping on Edit. So under Edit, we can show our favorites, we can show a reading list, and you can show shared with you as well. So if I turn that off, and maybe we'll turn off a couple of the others so we can see it, and that should be fine. Then we can customize our background. So maybe we want to change it to this. We can customize it, add our own, or just leave it as default. Go back and you'll see that it's changed. So it's a different background. Again, we now have shared with you, and now we have a bunch of different things that are shared. So you'll see all of the things people have shared within Messages are showing up in Safari if it's a link. So it shows that as well. Now we also have the option to create tab groups in iOS 15. So you'll see it says Start Page. So if I tap in the bottom right here, we have Start Page. We can create a tab group. And these are my tab groups. Apple, I have 2 of them. Go to Apple, and now we have a tab group where it has YouTube in there. Or we can create another one. So maybe we want to create new tabs or new empty tab group, and we'll just name it new tab group. We'll hit save, and now we can add different pages to it. So if we want to add Apple, and then maybe we want to add another where we have Google, and now we have our different tabs, and we can switch between them just by swiping from the bottom. So we can swipe between our different tabs. Now, if we want to go out of our tab groups to our main start page, now we're back, and the tab group is saved and not on this main screen. So again, we'll go to Apple, and you'll see it's just this one tab now. But we have our new tab group, go back into it, and it's brought back all of those tabs. So that's something a little bit different that they've updated as well. So that's all new. And again, you have your privacy tabs as well. And then you can delete them if you'd like to. So that's been updated in Safari. They've also made it available so you can swipe down to refresh a page. So swipe down, it'll refresh this page if you want to do that. On any page, you can just swipe down to refresh. So all of those things have been updated. There's even more in your settings as well to customize the tab bars and more. Again, you have your bookmarks and then the option to share as well. Now, to go along with Safari, there's some new options called iCloud Plus. This is completely new and a service offered by Apple to help hide information online. So if we go into Settings and then you tap on your name at the top, under iCloud, you'll see some new options for Private Relay, which is currently in beta, and Hide My Email. If we go into Private Relay and we turn this on, it hides your IP address and browsing activity in Safari and protects your unencrypted internet traffic so that no one, including Apple, can see both who you are and what sites you've been visiting. If you turn this on, you can use this. It'll show you your location, but it is in beta and can slow things down right now. Once it's available, it will be much faster, but it does hide all of your internet traffic if you want to do that. Similarly, they've added Hide My Email to do the similar thing. So if we go into Hide My Email, you have the option to create a new address. So it says keep your personal email address private by creating a unique random address that forwards to your personal inbox and can be deleted at any time. So you can create that, use a different address, or not now. So it will create those for you if you'd like to use those. That is at an additional cost and will be available a little bit later in the full release, but it's in beta now for Private Relay, but it will keep the internet traffic safe and no one will know where you're from. So that's a great little update if you want to use that instead of maybe a VPN. However, it is not a VPN technically, but it is trying to hide everything from who may be looking or may be tracking you. Now, Find My gets some updates as well. If you're using Find My, it will now track in real time if you're looking for people. So maybe you have relatives or loved ones that allow you to follow them. It's tracking them in real time. And you can see this on the Find My widget that I showed you earlier. The actual location has changed. So you'll see that this person's traveling and it's updated in real time. Now, if we go into Find My, now within Find My, we have people, devices, items, and me. Just like we did before, we can see all of our different things, but we now have a plus button here. If we press on plus, we can now share my location, add a MagSafe accessory, add an AirTag, or add other item. Now, the nice thing is if you have Find My enabled in your iCloud settings, if you go to shut off your phone, or maybe you leave your phone behind and someone tries to shut it off, if they've taken it, it will now keep tracking it even with it turned off. So if I go ahead and turn it off, we'll just power it off here, you'll see we immediately get a message that says iPhone findable after power off. If we tap on this option, it says iPhone remains findable after power off. Find My helps you locate this iPhone when it's lost or stolen, even after powered off. The location is visible in Find My on your other devices and to people in family sharing you share this location with. You can temporarily turn off Find My network and it will resume when this iPhone is powered off again. If you try to turn this off, or right here, it'll prompt you for your passcode. You cannot turn this feature off without entering the passcode, so that way you can find your phone afterward. Also, if your phone is lost, you can mark it as lost, and even when someone reboots the phone, it will still tell them that this phone is being tracked or that it's being located with Find My. That way it lets people know you're looking for the phone if maybe they found it for you. Also, under devices, you can now locate your AirPods Pro and AirPods Max, so you can locate those within Find My. We'll go into it. You also have the option to play a sound and get directions to your AirPods, but currently the finding it similar to what you have with an AirTag doesn't seem to work for me. So maybe in the future it will. Right now it doesn't seem to work, but you do have those options to find your AirPods if you've lost them. Now in iOS 15, Wallet will get a major update to include different cards. And the reason I say will get an update is many people are anticipating ID cards, but depending on where you live, this may or may not be available. It is very country dependent and state dependent in the United States, as your state has to approve it. So you'll have the option to add your ID card and have it official in here using information from biometric sensors to determine that it's really you. However, where I live, it's currently not available, but you'll have the option for ID cards. Also, car key support with ultra wideband support being rolled out with BMW, where you can use your car key here, although you can use that in many different apps, such as Tesla using Bluetooth. And then in the future, you'll also be able to use it with the TSA in the United States, so you can use it as a boarding pass for maybe airports. So you'll have that. Also, passes that have expired, such maybe as flight passes, have expired here and they've entered into previous cards. So previous flights I've taken just automatically go there now. Again, you have transit cards and more, but right now some of these features are not active due to local laws and government. So hopefully they'll become active in the future, but they're all there ready to go, but not currently active yet for many locations. Now Siri gets some updates as well this year with on-device speech processing on supported devices, A12 Bionic and newer. So what that means is it can process on the device without having to connect to the internet. Prior to this, it would connect anonymously to the internet, process what you said, and then bring that back. So it has offline support with without internet connections, including timers and alarms, phone, messaging, sharing, app launching, and more. So if I want to use Siri to maybe open the App Store, we can do that. Open the App Store. So you'll see it will open the App Store, and that works just fine, of course, with a connection. If I turn on airplane mode, you'll see Wi-Fi is off. We'll try it again. Open the App Store. And it works just the same. So for certain things, it's processed directly on the device, and it's very fast. So you have that offline support as well. You can also share items on the screen just by telling it to share to a contact. So maybe we'll go to this game here. Well, we have to go back in, turn on my internet connections, retry. Share this with Zach Zolo. And it says I can only send screenshots from here. So because we're not in a web page, it's sent a screenshot to Zach. So it works just like that. You can share from whatever's on your display. Also, Siri better understands context now. So maybe you're texting back and forth. Someone says, I'm going to the mall. It will understand that, and you can just say what time. Instead of saying, what mall are you going to, or anything like that. You can reply with context included. Also, you can use Siri to control different devices at certain times. So you can tell it to control your lights after lunch or something along those lines. You also have the option to announce messages in CarPlay now, and there's improved speech in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and Finland. There's also mixed English support and Indic language support as well, so you can use those together. So all of those things have been updated with Siri. Now music gets some updates as well. So maybe you're using the music widget. Let me add it here. Now I've added the music widget, and you can see it here in my widget stack, and it has just the typical Apple background where it's sort of a pinkish red color. If I go into the music app and hit play on that song, the widget will change to the color of whatever's being played. So it's just been updated there a little bit. And again, you can see the same thing here within your control center. So you have it there as well. And the overall look of it is a little bit different. So nothing crazy there. Again, on the lock screen, you'll also see that playing in sort of a new card here as well. Everything's been updated for music. Now, if we pause that, there's also some additions to head tracking with Apple Music, like I said before, with AirPods if you have supported devices. And there's new options as far as SharePlay, but that will be coming a little bit later. You can also use your music within one of those photo memories like I mentioned before. There's not a whole lot of changes to music overall. Now, if we go into the App Store app, there's some changes there. So we'll close out of this, and if we tap on your account in the upper right, it looks a little different. So you'll see that it's sectioned off now, similar to what we have in settings, and if we go into purchased, there's some changes there as well. In your purchased, you can now search, and you have not on this phone, so it makes it a little bit easier to find anything you've ever downloaded. So that has been updated also. Now Spotlight gets updated as well. The first change is you can now access it from the lock screen. So if we lock the phone, unlock it, just pull down from the middle, you can now search. Now, of course, you can turn that off if you'd like, but it has that option. You can also search for more things, such as photos and text within photos. It understands that specific text when searching, and also allows you to search for more things such as actors and TV. So the morning show, for example. You'll see the morning show, it has Siri knowledge and searches for that show. So you have more options there, and it's sort of segmented this into different sections, such as TV show or Siri suggested websites. So they've updated search to include more, as well as be able to search for things with app clips. So if you're looking for a new app, it will show you an app clip for that and help you understand that. So maybe we'll try Shazam There's an app clip for that. If you don't already have it, you'll see there's an app clip. Tap on the app clip and it says app clip unavailable, retry, but you have the option to click on app clips and then it will open the app if it's not installed. Now there's an update to Notes as well. The first change to that is a new icon in the control center. So press on the icon here and it will open Notes, or if you press and hold, you have the option for a new note, new checklist, new photo, or scan document. If we go into Notes itself, they've updated it a little bit. If we go out, scroll down, you'll see we have tags. So we now have tags within Notes and we have a tag browser. We can tap on one of those tags and it will find where it's located throughout. So you have the option to search for those tags as well. And if you're sharing a note with someone, maybe you've entered in sharing a specific note, it will tell you the changes that have been made as well to that. You can see a list of changes, and if someone mentions you in that note, it will notify you that they've mentioned you and that you need to update the note if you use sharing. So you can share any note here, and you'll see this is just a generic note that I've had before, and if you share it with someone else, you'll have all sorts of notifications. So you have the option to share that note with an individual and see much more information about it. Also, if you're using a quick note from the iPad, you can see that here as well. Although that's an iPad feature I'll cover in a different video, but it will show up in your notes as well. Reminders get similar updates with tags. So you have tags here. We can go into reminders, find a tag with YouTube or something else, and there's updates for that. So again, smart folders based off tags, that tag browser, and you can have it announce reminders with Siri as well and delete completed reminders on its own, or you can just delete them yourself. So if we go into a reminder, maybe from a suggestion, you'll see check around the date of, and if we want to swipe, we can delete that reminder by itself. So we have that option where we didn't have that before. It also has improved natural language support that lets you type maybe jog every other morning, and it will set a reminder for that. So it understands that. If I want to say jog every other morning, it will understand that context and then fill it in as I want it to. So you'll see here it says George will jog instead here. There we go. Jog every other morning. It understands that context and will add those reminders as you're asking it to. So it has much better context understanding. Now within voice memos, that's been updated as well. If we go into voice memos, you'll see we have a bunch of different recordings. And if I tap on the options here, we have the option for playback speed. So there's playback speed. We can also skip silence or enhance the recording. So we have those options built in now, and it skips any of that silent area. So maybe you were recording notes at school and you want to skip over where there wasn't any information, it will do that on its own. You can also share multiple voice memos at once now. So if we tap edit, maybe tap a few different ones, we can now tap on share and share multiple ones at once. So that's been updated in voice memos. Now news gets a small update as well. So if we go into news, we'll find news here. We'll go down, find news. And news has a small update to the overall news feed. So there's a change there as well. You'll see News Plus, and you also have shared with you if someone has shared something with you. So you'll have the option to see that also. Now Translate gets an update as well. So if we go into Translate, go down to that app, Translate gets an update that is now system-wide. So Translate's built in system-wide. It will auto-translate back and forth with someone if you're holding a conversation. So you tap on conversation and it will hold that conversation back and forth based on the languages you select. So maybe you want Italian and English or whatever language you select, it will do that. And you can tap on this icon here where you can have it side by side or face to face. So you can switch it so that it's set down on a table, someone's facing you from here, and you can talk this direction. It makes it a little bit easier as far as that goes. Now it's system-wide as far as the translation. So if you go into something like Safari and maybe highlight this icon here or this here where it says iPhone, I can now translate it right from here into whatever language I choose. So maybe I want to translate Apple into Italian or iPhone into Italian. Of course, it's just going to say iPhone, but you can change that, copy the translation, change the language, add to favorites, or open and translate, and it will just add whatever you'd like. So that's all built into Translate system-wide on every word. So if you're wondering what a word is that you're looking at on your iPhone, press and hold and you can see it. All of that has been brought into the device and it translates on device. So again, another thing, maybe we'll try the word new. The word new will translate it into Spanish and you'll see it there, and then you can play it to hear it. We'll turn it up, and it will play it so you understand it. So it's nice that it's built in across the entire system and makes it super easy to use. Now there's some health updates as well. So if we go into health, within health, you can see some of my information here, and we now have trends. So it shows all of your different trends. You also have the option to share your health data. So you can share with someone, share with a doctor, and have that option as well. You have to allow this, and Apple does not have access to this data. It's shared only with the person you're sharing it with. You also have the option for walking steadiness. So if we go into our browse options here and we go to, well, let's find mobility, and you can see walking steadiness here. So it gives whether or not it's okay. Maybe you have the possibility of falling, it will let you know. Of course, you can turn this off if you'd like. You also have the option to measure blood glucose as well. So there's other data here. We can type glucose. You'll see it here. If you want to monitor that, you can enter data for that. So you can add data for blood glucose and also when you ate a meal if you'd like to keep track of that. So it's just a new way to keep track of more information. Additionally, you have the option for lab results and more. So if you want to add information for that, mindfulness and more, those are all additional options or points of data you can add. There are a ton of different updates in this, and you can see everything like we had hand washing before, understanding blood glucose, and more. So they've added a lot of information into health to help you better monitor if that's what you'd like to do. Now in iOS 15, Apple has added privacy features as well. So if we go down to privacy, last year they added app tracking transparency. I have it turned off so no apps can track me, but you could turn that on individually if you'd like. And under privacy, if we go down, you'll see record app activity. If we tap on this, we can save our app activity and then share that information. So we can see exactly what apps are doing, what information they're using, and it breaks down that information in a file. So it's typically a text file, and then we can just read it from there. So we can see who the app is contacting and get all of that information. Now Shortcuts get some updates as well. It is now cross-device compatible, or you can manage it across devices. As you add a shortcut here on your iPhone, it will show up on your iPad and Mac as well. So it's cross-device managed now and syncs automatically. There's also some new options. So maybe we'll go into this shortcut, tap on the options. We now have an option to receive what's on the screen. So that's been updated. And there's some new options when you're adding different shortcuts. So you have the option to add background sounds now. So if we go back out, maybe add one, add an action, and if we search, you'll see background sounds. So you'll see set background sounds. That's been updated. You also have a new return to home screen, new split screen options for iPad. You'll see it here, split screen. And split screen apps is only for iPad, unfortunately, not iPhone. But also you have improved sharing without having to actually manage security settings as well. So where you had to import the update or the shortcut and then manage security settings, it will just now work properly. So those have been updated. There's not a ton of extra new features as far as that goes, but there is options for variables and more, again with Mac updates as well. Now screen time gets an update as well. If we go into settings, go under screen time. Under screen time, you have downtime. Tap on downtime and you can turn it on until tomorrow. And it says during downtime, only apps that you choose to allow and phone calls will be available. So you can turn it on or schedule it, and that's just a small change to that. In the Books app, they've also redesigned search as well. So if we go into Books, we'll just scroll down, go into Books. Search has an all-new search design, so they just made it a little easier to find things. Not a huge update there, but there are some small updates. If we go into the Home app, there's some updates there as well to its capabilities. So in Home, if you use any accessories that work with Home, with automations, that has been updated. And Home now has the option for automating accessories based on the light level. So maybe you have an accessory that sees what the light level is. You turn the light level down to 50%, it can change what other things are doing as well, if you have accessories that support that. You can also add keys as well. So if you have some home keys, you can do that, maybe a new accessory, and not only add a new home, but your accessories can now use, maybe you have a smart lock that you can tap your phone to. It should work with that. Also, maybe you're at a place of business and you have a little key tag that you tap on a door. You should have the option to add that if you have a compatible device as well. So all of those are coming to home as well. If you're using a HomeKit camera, it can also detect packages that have arrived and tell you that it's actually seen a package. So maybe one of those Logitech cameras. So if you have all of those should work properly now. And there's some additional features with that. Now, Podcasts also gets an update as well. So Podcasts continues to get updates more so with iOS 14, but the Podcast app has been updated, and it's not a huge update since they've done most of this with subscriptions and more, but there's now personalized recommendations. So not only do we have shared with you, which people have shared before, which I said is throughout the OS, but there's also channels to try. So some new things. So just news, different things to try, and it will suggest different sort of news sources or other podcasts that may or may not be available. Now, if you're using your phone to define words, which you can do on just about any word on your iPhone, it's been built in for a while, there's new dictionaries for India, Hong Kong, and a new idiom dictionary for mainland China, as well as a new thesaurus for mainland China as well. So you have that. You also have 5G enhancements for iPhone 12 series devices and iPhone 13 series devices. You can prefer 5G over Wi-Fi in your settings. So in your settings, if you go to Cellular, under Cellular Data Options, if you go to Data Mode and tap on Allow More Data on 5G, it will prefer 5G over Wi-Fi. So it gives you that option as well, and even allows you to do software updates over cellular instead of Wi-Fi if you don't have that option. Now, Game Center gets some updates as well. So in settings, you can go to Game Center here. If you just scroll down until you see Game Center, go into that, and you'll see recents and group invitations and Game Center friend requests, and also game highlights can be recorded with up to about 15 seconds if you're using a PS5 or Xbox controller. So you'll have all of those options in Game Center now as they continue to enhance that. There's also some small updates to TV. So if we go into the TV app here, we'll scroll down to TV. And within TV, of course, you have Up Next and more, but you'll also have Shared with You. So if someone shares that in a message, it will show up here. And you can also use this in streaming apps in Japan. So that has been included. There's also inclusive language support updates as well. So if you're using your phone with different languages or different countries, there's inclusive language for Spanish only, and it says to make your device feel more personal in your language and regional settings, you can choose how you would like to be addressed throughout the system as far as feminine, masculine, or neutral. So those have all been updated. So all of those are huge changes to iOS 15. Of course, there's not huge visual changes everywhere, but there are updates throughout the whole OS that Apple continues to change. Now, there are small updates throughout as far as small icon updates and more, and much of this has been updated throughout, and there's about 300 to 400 small changes all over the place. So I've covered most of them. You may find some additional small changes as well. So I'd love to hear from you if you've found anything else. And if you've stayed this long into the video, I really appreciate it. As far as performance and everything, it should perform well on older devices, so I wouldn't worry too much about that if you're worrying about installing it. So as far as that goes, that's everything in iOS 15. Of course, there will be future updates with iOS 15.1 and much more. So that's everything in iOS 15. There may be a few small things here and there that I missed, but that's the majority of everything in it. There's hundreds and hundreds of updates. So hopefully that helped you out figuring out what's new in iOS 15. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.